How do you rationalize roasting one of your best friends? Well, first of all, you better pick someone who has very thick skin and also someone where there's a lot of material. My friend Charles fills those bills admirably. Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and distinguished guests. We all probably have someone that we know in our life that as soon as their name is mentioned, you say, oh, that is the smartest person I know. You know, Karen is the smartest person I know. Rich is the smartest person I know. And you start to think, oh, they just seem to know everything. So one day I was thinking, well, what are some of the characteristics of the smartest people we know? And I thought, well, let's see. Number one, they have a great memory. My friend Charles remembers every book he's ever read, every person he's ever talked to, every conversation he's ever had, and where the conversations took place. The second thing is that they seem to have a lack of what I call social sensory acuity. They kind of don't really get the social style thing too well, the social graces thing too well. And the last thing is, the last characteristic is, they seem to lack that common thing that we refer to as common sense. So let me tell you two short stories about my friend Charles to kind of make my point. It was in October, it was in Minnesota. We were playing golf at Interlochen Country Club. Interlochen Country Club is steeped in history. It is where Bobby Jones won the U.S. Open in 1930. It is currently the site of more than one Solheim Cups for the non-golfers in the room. That is the women's version of the Ryder Cup. Obviously meticulously taken care of, a golf course, absolutely beautiful, very highbrow. A friend of mine belongs to that club and at one time was president of the club. So I invited Charles to come along and we were going to play golf that day. So Charles came and we all teed up and I was partnered with my friend and Charles was partnered with one of his friends who was also a memo. For 17 holes of golf, Charles talk for 17 holes. And from time to time would go to one of these other two fellows and ask them if he could hit one of the clubs in their bag, which of course is something we just don't do. And they politely agreed, but kind of winced about it, went right over Charles' head. So now we get to the 18th tee box. Now it's kind of a cool day, a lot of leaves on the ground. So we get to the 18th tee box, and we all line up, and look down the fairway. We all hit our drives, and we all hit pretty good drives. My friend that I was partnered with, his ball rolled off of the fairway just a little bit, maybe 2 or 3 feet off the fairway. Now, golf courses many times have local rules, and in Minnesota specifically, I'm sure that may be true in Wisconsin and some other adjacent states, they have a thing called the leaf rule. You look for your ball for about 5 minutes. If you can't find it, because there's so many leaves on the ground, you get some relief. You can have a free drop and hit the ball. So my friend looks for his ball for a few minutes and finally calls the leaf rule. Well, Charles goes nuts, and he is just like ridiculing and joking and just keeps on and on and on. Now, my friend is probably the most genteel man I have ever met. Devout Christian. He's never said a bad word about anybody, except maybe his ex-wife, but basically always a good guy. So we get to the end of the 18th green. I think we were playing at 2 Nassau. I think the game was even tied. We're walking off. He turns to my friend Charles. He says, Charles, he says, take a look around at this beautiful golf course because it's the last time you'll ever see it. And I'm like, oh, I just didn't expect him to say anything like that. Charles, right over his head. Aha, yeah, that's funny. Keep on going. All right, story number 2. Charles and his brother come to Sarasota to take their 93-year-old mother out to dinner. And so they get in the car, and his brother's name is Bucky, who happens to be a nuclear physicist. So they get in the car, they show up at what used to be called Zariah's downtown on Main Street, no strange names. He instructs his mother to get out of the car and go into the restaurant. Now, most people who have a 93-year-old mother would jump out of the car and help her, but not Charles. He says, Mom, you go on and get seated, and we'll go park the car and we'll do it. So Charles and Bucky, by the way, when was the last time you heard of a nuclear physicist by the name of Bucky? Anyway, Charles and Bucky, they drive on, they park the car, they come back, there's the mother, sprawled out on the sidewalk, broken arm, dislocated shoulder. Charles is like, oh my God, what happened, what happened? Anyway, they pick her up, call 911, she goes, she has the surgery, gets rehabilitated, and she's fine, she's a wonderful lady. So my point is this, we all have these friends that are so brilliant, but yet, on other hands, maybe not so brilliant. But and I'm sure you do the same thing, we kind of forgive all these things because Charles and I have been friends for almost 20 years. Great conversations, great laughs, great wine. So you kind of forget all these things. And by the way, they make for great storytelling.